Now this here is a workhorse of a radio, the Motorola Spectra. I forget what year this was made. Let me look up the programming here, get a somewhat of a range. Motorola, mobiles, go down to Spectra. It was on top, okay. 1993. It's kind of hard to believe, but maybe so. Either way, this is a workhorse of a radio. There's still thousands and thousands of these out in the field. The majority of them have suffered the narrow banding rule, where all these agencies, they used to have this. This one here is wideband. It cannot be converted to narrow band. So this is surplus, not used. But it's a VHF radio. I could certainly use this for hams, big time. And you know, other frequencies or whatever. Grid down, this is the thing to have. This one suffers a lot from the capacitors being dried out from weather or age or whatever, and that's one of the biggest problem that this particular unit faces out there. It's an incandescent display, so again, we're talking about, you know, segments being burnt out, or the whole display being burnt out. That's another sort of thing that goes wrong with this radio. And of course, yeah, you'll get some models there that have bad power out or bad receivers and stuff like that, but not often. Oh, another problem with this radio is the speaker wires to feed a external speaker. If you short those two out, it's going to burn out the audio amplifier inside this box, and that's it, you're done. It could be replaced. That's one of the only few certain components that you could replace on this unit, almost in the field. I could actually fix this out in the field if it has that particular problem. So those are the three things that could go wrong with this that I've seen quite a bit, and that's it. But other than that, this thing is a workhorse. It's bulletproof. I love this radio. I am very nostalgic about this radio, and there's a bunch of these still out in service. The 800 megahertz radios out there, they're still good. They're old, they're wideband, but they don't fall under that narrowband ruling, so they are still in service out there. Real good radio. Anyway, let's see if we could program it. It takes a DOS programming again. This thing, the DOS box itself, it's the standard configuration. This is your ignition sense right here, so you need that to actually power this radio, along with the main power going in. So ignition switch, a toggle switch, or just keep it hot all the times. And in the front there is a push button here to turn off and on from the front itself, just like so. You could align the transmitter and oscillators in this radio by inputting some certain codes, and then it'll be like in some sort of maintenance mode, alignment, so you can make alignments to this without the use of a PC. Very, what do you call it, advantageous out in the field if you're sort of dialing this in out in the field and not in like a sort of shop area. But if you want to program a frequency into this, you need to go through the PC itself. So let's do that. Okay, here's the programming cable, goes into this port. There's another version of this that has a remoted sort of front to this, and here it is. So you could program it from the back there, like this one here, or I've actually made a cable that will interface this to the rib box, and I could program it from the front here. So if I go into a vehicle, whichever is easiest access for me to have access to these ports to make changes, that's the particular cable that I will use. So here we go. Everything's connected, everything's turned on, rib box on. I'm on the program there. Press any button and it looks very familiar, this program here. So let's see, F3 get save program radio, F2 read the radio. Let's see, it'll do that. So far so good. Reading code plug block. Let's see if it'll still continue to do that. It looks like it is. Like I said, any radio after the Centaur X radio, it gets easier to kind of interface. There's not much modification I had to do to get it to this point here. It pretty much was plug and play as far as, you know, doing these translations here. Takes a while. Okay, let's see if it took. So I get out of there, F10, change program, that's where you make the modifications. Let's go to mode configuration, F5. And there's the first one. It looked like it took. So I'm going to go ahead and try to program the radio, see if it'll work. F10 out, F3, see. F8, program data into the radio. F8, looks like it's going through its motions. Press F8 again, kind of gives you a second chance. Error number 90 has occurred, bad frequency, F2. Don't know what that meant. Alright guys, I got its programming right now, so it does work. It happens. You just got to try and try again. That's why it's important to read the radio and save it, and then make your modification with another copy of that particular code plug to do your changes and stuff. But make sure you have the original so you have something to fall back on. Very important. This thing is almost done here. Let's see if it took. Good, it took. Alright. Okay guys, this here is a Motorola MCS2000. This radio was built around year 2000, 2006, who knows, you can look it up. According to this program here, that's what it says here. And this radio here basically runs off of year 2000 laptops. So we're talking about Windows 2000, around there, Windows 95 maybe. But I'm using Windows 7 Enterprise series or whatever, and it does have something in here where you could run this program in a compatibility mode. And I remember when I had just regular Windows 7, this program didn't work on it. But then some of the other guys schooled me into how to make it work and stuff. So there's the MCS2000 program there, and this is now regular Windows, you know, Windows 7. It's not DOS anymore, so that's a good thing. I just right click on that, open up the properties, and go over to compatibility up here, and compatibility mode, you check it off and you run this program in the Windows 2000 sort of environment. Here you could go back all the way back to Windows 95, but our program here runs better at Windows 2000. So that's what I did here on my modern computer here. So let's see if we can read it. All the programming is done through the microphone jack, and now this is the point, and I think a few radios before that, the Max Track for sure, all the programming is done by the microphone jack. They kind of wised up. It's easier access. You could just go right to it instead of digging in the back, you know, cab or wherever the main unit, this unit is located at. Same deal. It's got its own proprietary cable. The rib box, again, this is the same rib box that sort of program all those other radios there. So that's a good thing. You don't have to sort of, you know, get a newer version or older version rib boxes. It runs all those other radios. So here's the program being run. So I'm going to read. See if it'll read it. Oh, this communications with radio failed. That's because I don't have this thing on. Okay, let's do that again. So far so good. Oh, Gotta activate it again. And there the radio is programming. So it's reading all that data right now. So I'm pretty sure this will continue doing its thing, and there it is. Once it reads it, it validates it and gives you all the configuration for that particular radio. Here's the zone number 1. That's where you put all your channels. And there you have it. We got it. So let's program the radio now. Let's go the other way around. And there it is, programming. So it doesn't have like sort of a what do you call it, status bar or anything like that to see what it's doing other than what's in the faceplate. So far, while we're waiting for this thing to finish, it looks like all the radios that I've shown you so far for the Motorola line can be programmed with this laptop, for the exception of, or it could be or could be not the exception of the Centaur X9000, the big boat anchor down there, the first one that we've done. But I did get it to work a couple of days ago, so it is possible. Right, successful. This guy reset and we're back in business. So this guy's working fine. So like I was talking, that first radio, you just got to play with the clock speed, because I was able to make it work last time, and I was able to copy the program, save it, and all that good stuff, and write it back into it. So it is possible with this fast machine to talk to that radio, but it's finicky. You have to sweet talk it, I guess, or whatever. But then again, I don't recommend that radio anymore because it's so old and obsolete, and you could run into that problem. Though they do have a kick-ass sort of like a 6-meter range version of that is pretty kick-ass and bulletproof. I wouldn't mind having 1 or 2 of those actually, but that's the story on that. So there you have it, the MCS2000. I haven't found any problems with these in the field yet. They're somewhat new, you know, as far as public service radios. They're already narrowband capable. It's a good radio. I like it. Okay, let's move on. So here's another radio, Motorola MT2000. This radio, I forgot what year it was produced, but still in service and is very good. I don't know if this is narrowband capable, but this one is 800 megahertz, so it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of these, and the program that programs this is the DOS programming. So DOSBox is confirmed to work on this. I'm just too lazy to hook it all up and show you guys, but it does work off of this. The little thing goes in a side here, just like this XTS 5000, the Astro 25 radios. Those are somewhat new, and this model here pretty much has been crossed over into like a USB programmer rather than the RS-232 serial port that you see me done till now. So that just hooks up to there, and rest assured that this can be programmed with a newer laptop with the DOSBox programming easily. Not much fuss with this at all, so it is possible. There's another model after this called the MTS2000. The MTS2000 is a crossover or a transition point that I've seen, that it went from the old DOS platform and converted over to the Windows-based stuff. You know, Windows 2000s and all those others. I could program the MTS radio with Windows 7 Enterprise for sure. If you roll it back in a compatibility mode, XP version, then yeah, it'll more of a chance of it working correctly. Like I said, this is somewhat new. The XTS 5000. Actually, this came back 7 years ago, I believe. So this is not entirely too new, but there's a crap load of these out there. There's the 5000 version, the 3000 version, and the 2500 series. I like the 2500 series because it's smaller and it lasts quite a bit out there. Really good. This is the mobile counterpart of it. This is the XTL 2500 that goes into the vehicles. Really good radio. It's got some quirks where sometimes yeah, it will go into like some kind of maintenance mode or whatever. Sometimes it resets itself. It's got some glitches, at least the ones that I've seen. Maybe there's a fix out there for them or not, but there's not too many of them in the field where I see them. So I don't have the programming, well, I do have the programming cable for this, but I don't have the full setup of this. I need the cable to interface this to this and the power and all that. I don't have all that, so I can't turn this unit on to program, but it's identical almost to the portable version of this. They're both in the same family. And here's the portable CPS version of it, and it's easy peasy. It's kind of like, now this is what you guys are probably used to seeing with those ocean radios, the Wuxongs and TYT and both things. It's kind of like the same thing. You got the USB port here, cable programming, and it hooks up to the side of the radio, just like this. Same thing. So you guys are really familiar with this now. So I'm just going to read the radio. And it went into a programming mode. This is doing its thing. It's got the status bar there going, and it's verifying the code. And then it'll pop up and I can make the changes and stuff here. It copied all those groups there, so that's working. I'm not going to program this because it's working, believe me guys. I think I've beat that horse to the end, but I wanted to show me actually reading and writing with those older radios over there because they're finicky. Okay, that was a long video for the Motorola side. Now you could see how Motorola gets its own sort of video for programming and reprogramming, showing the vintages and the sort of family line of radios that they produce and what's out there in the surplus market. I do not know about the Motorola radios and those other sort of like business class radios. I mostly deal with first responder class radios. These guys there that have the P25 APCO 25 digital specs. All those other business class radios, they got their own little language. They're not required to conform to any government mandated sort of open source language as far as digital mode and analog mode. So I don't deal with them at all. I deal with the first responders. So don't know about those radios. I'm sure they're very similar, and you'll probably see the same headaches with the older versions of those and the ease of programming the new stuff. So what you see here, you could probably expect the same thing from that class of radios from Motorola. So with that, I think I'm done here. You can see the sort of pain that I went through to get through this. 1.2, I tried making the USB to serial port work, but it's very finicky to where if I continue trying to make this work, I'm just going to toss this laptop out to the street and shoot it or something, because I don't have patience for this. I got the serial port in the back there to use, and that's working fine for me, and I'm just going to stick to that until I really need to go this route, which I doubt for now. In the meantime, the newer stuff does come with the USB capability, and doesn't rely on this older technology here that is still used today. Actually, it's not that old. It's just very reliable and very sturdy. Alright guys, I'm done with this. As you could tell, I'm not too jazzed about making this video. I'm not really motivated because it's not that fun to make, but it has to be shown and demonstrated to let you guys know what the hell is out there before you go buy this stuff. Okay guys, next stop is everybody else as far as radios. GE, Kenwoods, Midland, and so forth. that might take some time. I'm a little bit burnt out, so I might do some other videos in the meantime. Alright guys, Gorilla Comm going 10-10.